Well. Looks like I'm going to be 0 for 2. West Virginia and Penn State currently in a weather delay. But this one, man, this was a straight dominance in the second half. A great performance overall from the Georgia Bulldogs, man. Second half performance. This was a defensive battle. This was 6-0 at the break. And a real good game. Like, first off, I know we're going to get into everything in all the essentials. I know you're going to probably fry me in the comments. It's all good, man. Look, I like upsets. Sometimes I go for the upset over what my gut says, just because I like to see a team that nobody thinks is going to win. That's just me, though. You know what I'm saying? All right, so pretty cool stat right here from Rusty Manziel, obviously of Dogs HQ. 441 yards of total offense, 162 for just Clemson. So when you break down this game, like I said, it's a dominant second half. Well, Mike Bobo was able to kind of dial up second half. I mean, you seen it on the first drive. It went right down there, and they scored, And you could see them starting to have success against that Clemson defense after that drive. And then they went on 2 75-yard play drives and just couldn't be stopped, man. It was getting into the running game. And they was just able to, force their will. And I know that was one of the questions I have while I was watching it with Booger McFarland. He was like, well, it looks like Clemson is doing a good job in the trenches. But the key for Georgia, looking at this game, is just they was able to run the ball, man. They was able to dominate the ground game. Nate Frazier had a really good debut, man. Only 11 carries, but averaged 7.5 and 83 yards and had that dynamic touchdown. He just has a different burst to him. He looked like he was getting 8, 9, 10 yards per carry he had. And he's going to bring a different dimension for them offensively. Now, this was without Trevor Etienne. That's obviously one of my questions going in because it's a lot to ask a freshman, true freshman, to come in and be able to perform like that. But he was able to do it. And that speaks to him being ready to play. So he gets one of my game balls from this game. Carson Beck also had a pretty good game. He was very accurate early on. He didn't, really do too much. Some throws he missed, yeah, but had a pretty good game. 270-plus yards passing, 2 touchdowns. The receiving core looked real good. Leonard Humphreys kind of adds a different dynamic for them over the middle and the slide, can win in the inside. Arian Smith had a pretty good game. Kobe Young had that touchdown pass, and Dominic Lovett did some things. But Georgia, they do it by committee. They don't really do like one dominant receiver having 100-plus yards, 115-plus yards. They do it by committee, and you've seen that on Saturday, man. And that's what kind of makes them dynamic. And they tight ends was winning as well. You look at Lawson Lucky, Oscar Delp. They was winning the one-on-one matchups, and they was able to take advantage of that. And I think second half, Clemson got tired. You know what I'm saying? One more game ball, though. All right, so I got to give a shout-out, obviously, to Jalen Walker. He looked good, man. He led them in sacks last year with 5. What he was able to do, coming downhill, making big tackles, big hits. And this was out Michael Williams, who suffered an injury in this game from a low block from Maffa. But overall, the game ball goes to the defense. Only 3 points, really stacked with them all game long. Was real effective. They only allowed like one big chunk play was to Antonio Williams. Other than that, man, like it was tough sledding for Clemson. So you gotta give them credit, man. He did his thing. Next is the debut of KJ Bolton, the freshman. We've seen it kind of the first series, man. Came up, Clemson, got the ball first. They threw a little flat route to Maffa, and he comes up and hits him pretty hard, man. So as you can see, man, the 5-star formerly committed to Florida State. Obviously on signing day committed to Georgia. And like Coach Smart said, he looks, good. He looks, the part. And we seen that on Saturday, man. Bolden was making big plays, all day. And that's a great freshman debut. Was it on par of what Malachi Starks had, when he starts as a true freshman? Probably not. But it still was a pretty good debut. I give him a B+ easily. So you have that. And obviously they had, I believe, one of their players ended up getting hurt. So when you had a dependability and these freshmen is coming to play, and you could depend on them. It's had at least 3 freshmen who had a good debut today. And you feel really good. Last shout out to obviously Cash Jones as well. He had scored a touchdown in this game for the Georgia Bulldogs. All right, so now we got to talk about Clemson and obviously this era that they're in right now. They look good first half. I'm gonna be honest, defensively. And that was kind of my key. This is why I took Clemson. I thought like they could be able to hang with them defensively, and for the most part they did. Second half they kind of wore down. But they was, at the point of attack. Peter Woods had a really good start to his sophomore campaign. Avion Terrell had some good PBUs. Khalil Barnes had some nice plays as well. For the most part, the defense did what they were supposed to do, but the offense couldn't get nothing going. So I think when you look at the ACC and the whole picture, they're definitely still going to be a contender. They're definitely going to be a contender for the ACC title. Some people are going to come from this game and be like, oh, well, there's SEC is leaps and bounds better than the ACC. Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but in my opinion, I think the ACC is not too far off. We've seen that in the first half. They got to work on the offense, though. That's the kind of the key. The offense can only do that. Like, it's a superior team. I know the defense is good, but offense, like, they just didn't have it. And to me, it seemed like they could not throw it down the field. Like, besides that one big play to Antonio Williams, there was no shock play. So I think you got to, like, rotate in more. TJ Moore, Brian Westco. Like, you got to, if you're not going to use this portal to your advantage, you got to be able to start your freshmen and start your guys early. We've seen even Georgia do it, and Georgia used 11 guys in the portal to bring in. They still depend on some freshmen in their debut. So that's stuff you got to do, man. So to me, rotate those guys in. You got to start being able to win vertical when you play elite teams like this, you know. And a little bit more on Cade Klubnik. Yeah, man, for me, I've seen him a couple of times. Not in person, obviously, Cade, but just on TV. I don't know, man. It don't feel like he's the answer. I hate to say it. I know he took over, and that was one of the reasons why DJ Uiagalelei had left and went on to Oregon State. Now he's back in the AC with Florida State. But Cade just don't seem like the answer. Like, he was missing a lot of throws. Some of the receivers, they was winning the one-on-ones against their DBs. And again, like, when you have a young kind of secondary besides Malachi Starks, you got to take advantage of that in some ways. And I don't feel like Clemson did. And when they were open, Cade was underthrowing. Now, yes, did he face pressure? Sure. But some of them, like, he was just straight in the pocket and underthrew the football. Like, you got to win on those type of plays, man. So I think that was key. Some penalties in key spots in the red zone. They couldn't get points in. That was another key in this game. But I don't know, man. It just don't look like Cade's the answer. Like, he has trouble getting the ball to the receivers. He can't hit the deep throws. It is just one game. You're not going to play this type of defense every single week. So that's a bonus. But this was a game you expect Cade to take a step forward. And we didn't see that today. We really did not. And then Georgia did a good job of stifling the run. 16 carries, only 3.7 yard average. Only 3.7 yard average for Phil Maffa, man. And they got to, they might have to, I know that's going to be their bell cow. They might have to switch it up as well. Use Maffa in different ways. I know you're going to hand the ball off to him, but use your other running backs. If you got a good running back that's a scat back or can catch out of the backfield, you got to just be able to isolate your best players one-on-one. So that's kind of my keys in that one. Like I said, Clemson played a good first half. I thought defensively kept them in the game. That's what's going to make them a contender in the ACC is that defense. But the offense got to get together. If your offense does stuff like that, you're not going to win. And you can't expect your defense to always carry the game like they did in the first half. Second half, okay, if they go down and score, you got to get more than 3 points. You got to score a touchdown right there. You know what I'm saying? They had a pretty good drive, I'll be honest, after Georgia had scored, but you only get 3 points. That you got to convert into a touchdown. So that's the kind of scales and balances like you need. If your defense is playing really good, you need your offense to help out. If the defense is struggling, which they were, like offensively, like a couple things in those games, like Dabo, like I would have went for it. Your defense is struggling, get up 275-yard drives. I would have been trying to go for it, trying to lessen the load a little bit. But that was Garrett Riley. I think he's their offensive coordinator, their first-year offensive coordinator. So we'll see how they figure it out. It is just one game. You don't want to overreact. But probably going to get a lot of heat in Clemson. Probably going to get a lot of heat from national media from this game. And it looks more ugly than what it was. Georgia really pulled away, like I said, second half, especially fourth quarter. They put it on them. But first half, man, like I said, Clemson hung tough. But got to get that offense figured out, man. And I thought offensive line, for the most part, did pretty good. Georgia started doing some different blitzes and things like that. But I thought the offensive line did what they were supposed to do. So now you got to turn the page and try to move on, man. But that's my thoughts. We'll see how Clemson rebounds from it. But Georgia wins convincingly, showing that they are the best team in the nation right now at 1-0 in this college football 2024 season.